Hey, everybody, this is Ramon Ray, founder of SmartHustle.com. Thanks for joining me for another exciting discussion with an amazing entrepreneur, business owner, rock star. And if you're watching this and listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, what have you, can you give us a thumbs up, a like, a comment? Let us know you're watching it. I'd really, really appreciate it. YouTube especially also. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/SmartHustle. And again, my name is Ramon Ray with SmartHustle.com. Divya, who we're going to talk to today, was introduced. I want to give props to our mutual friend, Joya. And so, Joya, if you're watching this, thank you so much for bringing me and Divya together. Divya, welcome. And why don't you feel free to give us your full name, name of your business, and start off by telling us a bit about yourself and who you are today.
Hi, Ramon. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Divya Tandon, and I run a real estate management and investment firm, SGI Properties, and we manage basically commercial, mixed use, and multifamily units in workforce housing sector.
Got it. What was the last part in?
Workforce housing sector.
Interesting. Explain, help us, as we're educating and learning, what does that mean? Workforce, what does that mean?
It basically means blue collar housing. In real estate terms, it's called B and C class asset class.
Got it. As opposed to, for example, not Hudson Yards where people maybe are doctors and lawyers and sitting behind a desk, but those who may be working with their hands more, things of that nature. Just, I guess it helps to understand the economic of the income you're getting in on rent and things like that. Yes? So that makes sense?
Yes. Our typical clientele is a person who's working on their credit, maybe looking to buy a house a few years down the road, typically paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And most of them work in retail, restaurants, and that sort of, sector.
Got it. It's amazing how everything you're in, whether you have this chapstick or you're selling cars or whatever, has a target segment, which I didn't realize. I mean, we know it. We think of, we read, this person's home sold for $40 million. We know there's different types of people for different types of housings, but you forget that even in an apartment or housing units, there's a target market. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. Our typical tenant makes 3 times the rent.
Got it. So then how did you get into this field? Why don't you give us a bit about your background and journey and what got you here today in the summary?
Well, I used to work for NASDAQ, and not being able to, or having too many restrictions investing in the stock market sort of started me in real estate. And I started investing in New York little by little, and we wanted to do more. We wanted to go outside. We wanted to make money on our real estate investments. And about 13 years ago, we started investing in Buffalo, Niagara region, and little by little experimentation in different asset classes, because real estate is a very broad term. And we finally resorted to investing in workforce housing, in multifamily, and I love doing that. I didn't know anything about it when I got in it, but I guess your own success is your best motivator, and I enjoy it. I love doing what I do now.
I love it. And help us understand, what are some of the differences in real estate versus if I have a pen company? Of course, there's my inventory is getting the pen from China or Austin. Your inventory is your buildings. But can you help us understand, many of the entrepreneurs listening today are, I'll call it traditional or non-real estate business owners. What's it like? What are some of the metrics of success for yours? I'm guessing if people are paying you their rent, you can pay the bank the mortgage and you have a profit. I'm guessing that's the essence of it. But help me unpack and understand what your numbers are like and what your business is like.
Well, it's a touchy topic these days because of the eviction moratorium in New York State.
You're right. It's a good point. You're right. But in better days and in general, hopefully next year and in a few months when everybody's flushed with cash, what is it like?
Mm-hmm. So my sort of inventory or business model is, I'll get into, I like to make the money on the buy side, or when I start managing a property, I look at, like, is it doable? Is it practical? Are the rents really below market? Are they at market? And again, like for a layman business owner, it's about sales and inventory. And for us, again, it's about how many units are occupied, and how many people are actually paying the rent who are occupying the
Mm.
units, and what's the balance of the sort of the ratio of, what are my expenses and what's my income, which is, for any business
Hmm.
that one does. So yeah, so it really depends upon my economic occupancy, which
Sure.
means how many people are occupying the units and how many people are actually paying the rent.
Got
So
it. So it is pretty much a numbers game, like much business. You're using different metrics, but in a very layperson and overall, with a few
mhm.
sets of numbers, you can determine, is this a business for us? Like I would do I build websites. There's a few numbers. I can look at something and
Mhm.
make a pretty good judgment. Should I do this or not? Is that?
And yeah, you're right. And it also depends upon how much economies of scale you
Yeah.
have. So when I had like 10 units, my expenses were higher than what I have now because I had to hire more contractors at the time. Now I manage around 300 units. So, I have staff who can do a lot of in-house stuff. So
Right.
that also plays a big role in how successfully I'm able to run a property and how profitable I am at the end of the day.
Got it. What would your message be, Divya, for those who are new to real estate and thinking about getting into it? And I'm a layperson. I know nothing about it. So you can feel free to push back. I'm just telling you what I hear on the street. I find that there's some people, this is not you, you're serious about it, but like, oh yeah, I'm going to get into real estate. Do you have an extra 10,000? Let's just become millionaires. But it seems like as I'm talking to you, this is not like just a game, you know what I mean, that you can lose and do pretty bad if you make some missteps. What would you tell to the beginning person, either who wants to do it as a business, which you're doing, or the person who has their full-time job at UPS or Ramon, and they're like, I want to get into real estate? Talk to both of these different people.
So I get approached a lot with this question. Hey, I want to start investing in real estate.
Right.
How can I get started? And my answer to everybody is, don't go and buy a fixer upper day one. Get in. You have to get the taste of it, and
Yes.
it's for somebody and it's not for somebody. So if somebody it doesn't know anything about it, wants to get into it, a good entry point is either to invest into, and it also depends on how much money they want to
Sure.
invest into it. Either there's a lot of investment firms out there who take your money and they'll give you equity share into the property, or sort of like a cash coupon every month, and they send you, like, quarterly or monthly, whatever the structure is, income and expenses of the property that you're part of, so that you're not boots on the ground day one, but
Right.
at the same time you sort of like get a taste of what investment in real estate is like. Another advice I give to people who just want to jump into it and do it on their own, and don't want to overexpose themselves, I tell people, buy a condo. Because in a
Mm.
condo, the advantage is, and of course, every condo has different rules and
Sure.
regulations. So please, consult your lawyer before you do that. But most of the condos, you're able to rent them out,
Yes.
and they they maintain the property from the
Yes.
outside, so you're only maintaining it from the inside, so you kind of like reduce your workload 50%
Yes.
getting into the first property.
Got it.
So that's another advice I give it to the people who just want to get it on their own. They don't need anybody to do it for them,
Sure.
and they want to manage it. So do your first one. If it's something for you, then get more, then get more hands dirty in future. So that's what I have to say to people who want to invest in real estate.
I love it. And then I guess for those things, they can go both routes. They can just be
Mm-hmm.
a family like myself and have two properties maybe, and they're doing it simply, or they can say, I want to beat Divya. I want to compete with her and I want to own 500 units, and they can do it more
Yes.
full-time and as a
Yes.
full-time enterprise. Is that about right? Either way, you can start small and then take it where you want. Is that a fair statement?
That's about right. I started with the 2-family house in Queens, New York. So, and I invest money for other people who don't have time to invest in real estate as
Right.
well. So, I have invested with other people who do it bigger, on a bigger scale than I do. So, it's what approach one is comfortable with.
I love it. It's powerful. It's powerful. What have you learned, Divya? What have you learned when you're thinking about real estate? What are some things you've learned that you would do different, maybe, or that you would say, no, Ramon, no mistakes per se were made, but that you would keep doing? Any lessons learned in the real estate market and running it as a business?
Well, if I started talking about all the mistakes I've made, I
That's
think it will
true.
be like way beyond
But
the
give us
time.
2 or 3. I mean, and we probably should have a 2-hour conversation, but what are some that you can think of, mistakes, and, what would you do different?
Um, I guess the one mistake that I made early on was not very early on, actually, in the mid. I had been doing it for 2 3 years, and I got very excited. I used to live in New York, and I used to come to Buffalo like once a week or once every 10
Mhm.
days and go over all the properties. I had a much smaller portfolio at the time, and I bought 16 two-family houses sight unseen
Okay.
from a city of Buffalo auction. And some of them were okay, but
Right.
most of them I could have bought them much cheaper if I were to, or at the same price if I were to, buy them in a sale, in a regular sale.
Right. Right.
And that's something that I have never done after that. But we did come out a winner at the end of the day. It was more work than I
Yeah.
planned for, but we don't take no for an answer, and we with our perseverance we turn it around. So we did at the end of the day, but it was much more work than we thought of,
Yes.
and I wouldn't do it again. That was one of the major, again, you learn as you go.
Sure.
And that was one mistake I made, and there've been a lot of them. um, the screening that I used to do for the tenants before was sort of like not as thorough as I am now.
Mm.
But as I also learn, I've been like educating myself along the way,
Yes.
and simple things like, I used to not charge pet fees in the apartments,
Mm.
and much later I realized, hey, you know what? It's another income stream I can get. So now I charge
Yeah.
$25
Yeah.
per pet per
Yeah.
apartment, no more than 2 pets.
Yeah. And it's
I
a risk.
had
I mean, if
7.
it goes wrong, I'm guessing I'm not a pet owner, but if something happens, the scratching or whatever, that could be something that you regret not charging for too.
Exactly. Like I can go on till like tonight with my mistakes, but again, liability reasons. Oftentimes, there are
Yes.
do's and don'ts, and I didn't have a mentor per se, but at the same time, I think educating myself along the way,
Right.
and boots for me, my approach is boots on the ground, which works. That helped my understanding a lot more than anything else.
Absolutely.
And with any business, you're not an expert day one. At least I don't think so.
Sure. No, I try to say I am, but my wife and others in my life assuredly, and they're correctly, that I'm not. And by the way, Divya, when did you say your radio show, your book, your podcast, your event series, and your real estate course were coming out? When is that coming out, Divya? I'm just
Uh,
teasing you. You didn't say it.
no, I didn't
I'm
say that.
encouraging you. Divya was like, "Did I say that?" But I am.
No.
I one more question I have as well. I guess this is part a numbers game and being good at
Mhm.
numbers and finances, but I'm guessing Divya part a people's industry. And if you
Mhm.
agree, what have you learned about that? Help me understand about understanding people. I have
You
a
know,
smile and I'm all happy, but yet I turn out to be a bad person. Or you look at me and I don't maybe look a certain way, but yet I turn out to be the best person. Or they said they have great credit. Let's just hire them, and you find out no. So what have you learned in dealing with people, whether your employees or your tenants? I'm sure that's a interesting road.
yes. Before I answer this, I'm going to go back to your previous, you were pulling my leg. I do love going to Buffalo State University, and talking to students time to time.
Nice.
And right before the lockdown started, I was approached by Small Business Administration to help women businesses, and
Nice.
to sort of volunteer there. And I'm looking forward to it whenever things open up with that.
Absolutely.
So I don't have a podcast or series, but
Not
I love
yet.
helping people out. Not yet.
When you're ready, come and see me. You help me with
Yes,
real estate, and I'll help you with your digital media. How about that?
we have a deal. uh, as far as dealing with people, my personal experience has been, oftentimes people are just lonely. They don't know anybody they can talk to. So, and it's a people's game. It's customer service. It's how we can maintain our professionalism, and our cool, and how can we deal with other people? How can I come out a winner at the end of the day without taking advantage of the person in front of me? And whether it is dealing with employees, whether it is running a team, whether it is, um, you know, tenants. I have a simple statement I tell everybody: hey, I'm trying my best. I'm not perfect out there, but explain me where the problem is and how can we get from
Mm,
point A to point B. And that's the approach I keep in my day-to-day work. And whenever there is a conflict, that's the approach I keep, and that really helps me out. But believe me, in last 12, 13 years that I have dealt with people, answering those phone calls has made me a much patient person at the end of the day.
yes. I'm sure. No, it has for sure. And regarding the staff that you have, again, I don't. You can tell as much as you like, but as a management, I'm a renter, for example, rented. Is your business the kind? Not only do you own the property, but I call the 1-800 number, the local number. That's your company managing that too, and the guy who's taking out my trash. You've hired that person too, the full stack, or no? Just clarify management company, what that means for a layperson.
So I mean, we use contractors when we
Right.
need to, but our 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 philosophy is we'll do as much in-house work as we can, and when we need to hire, we do. So we have a staff of people on the administration side, and
Okay.
then we have team that's out in the field,
Got it.
working on the work orders, turning the apartments when the tenant leaves, and also contractors. Because we don't believe in doing everything in house. We
Right.
used to, but we decided at some point we have to strike that balance where we are not like overburdening our staff as well.
Sure.
So we do it that way.
Awesome. Love it.
Mhm.
Divya, it's been great to talk to you. Is there any place that you'd like people to go to and find you, or would you prefer no one to find you, depending on how you see it? But if there's a public place that you like to send people, if not, it's been great connecting. But I always ask my guests that. Is there anything they'd like to say or before we conclude?
I have a LinkedIn account if anybody wants to connect with
Okay.
me. I always have opportunities for investments if somebody wants to
Great.
look into that ways.
Okay.
Um, I also want to say to people who want to do it and maybe don't have savings to do it. I didn't inherit a single penny from anybody. Nobody helped me out along the way. And, my only thing is if you have a will, there will be a way. So start saving a little bit and you will be able to achieve it. Don't get, caught up in your own ideas and thoughts that I
Yes.
can't do it. If you want to do it, you will do it.
Divya, you said it best. I had the same discussion with I'll say close
Hmm.
person in my life.
Yes.
And this is not getting political at all. It may
Hmm.
sound like it, but they were bashing me and saying they said rich business owners. I'm not rich, but they said those rich business owners. And
Hmm.
I turned around to them and said, I'm a business owner. Well, not you. You're nice. I said, but you've just damned all of us who are entrepreneurs, hardworking. Some people do get inheritance, a few, but most are like me and you, Divya. We have an idea. We take great risk. We save, we fail, we get punched in the face, and we get up and hopefully, thank God, we're blessed, or we will be,
Yes.
either how it is. And two, as you said, it's mindset. I just happen to be the person. If my car's crashed, great. What an opportunity to get a new bumper, or it's time to get a new one. So that's so what you said is great. But Divya, give us your full name one more time, please.
My name is Divya Tandon. Sorry, it's a
Divya.
tongue twister.
Awesome. Listen, thank you for spending time with us today. Really
Hmm.
appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com. Thank you so much for joining us for another exciting podcast. If you're listening to this, please like us, refer us, do a comment, let me know you're listening. Subscribe to us on youtube.com/smarthustle and or other podcasts and ways and platforms you're listening to this. Again, Ramon Ray with Smart Hustle.